Harry, what's your view on raw carnivore approach of people like Sv3rige? He's a dickhead. Um, is it any use eating raw animal? I do sometimes. Food religiously, even if you don't drink leftover juices from cooked meat. Um, I do consume some raw, so like I have beef tartare, which is mincemeat with egg yolk. So I'll do that. I do have undercooked meat and stuff like that. Sometimes I will cook a steak blue, which is on the outside, really high temperature. Then I'll take it off, I'll let it rest, and then I'll carve it up in thin strips. It's blue inside, completely raw. And I will basically have that with eggs, sometimes raw eggs, beaten up with butter, like a butter thing. So I do things like that. But he's got some strange ideas. He's a flat earther and many other strange, crazy ideas. And, this sort of things, cooked meat is slavery or whatever. That's just nonsense. Humans were basically doing that way before civilization existed, 1.5, even before Homo sapiens existed, 1.5 million years ago when we invented fire. Homo erectus, that guy. So, yeah, it's nonsense. But raw meat has some benefits. Forget about the taurine side. That is a benefit. But also enzymes. It can provide some additional enzymes and a few things. The difference is that when you cook, you extract more nutrients, but you lose other things. So it's a sort of a balance. So having a bit of raw stuff now and then is not a bad thing. Undercooking certain things, not a bad thing. But there are still people out there that do regular cooking stuff, have been doing it for a very long time and don't seem to have any issues. So, but then again, they may not have originally had any issues in the first place and they can tolerate that. I'm not putting any marks there. At the end of the day, raw meat seems to people that have come out of a veganerized diet and have a lot of gut issues and stuff like that, they notice immediately that raw meat is much easier to digest and all that. Now, generally speaking, when you cook a meat and denature it, which is what you want to do, so the amino acids, the fats, the proteins can break down to simple amino acids much easier by cooking it. When you actually have it raw, it takes more processing in the stomach to basically achieve that. But you're also getting higher amount of taurine. As a consequence of that, from the raw meat, especially if it's fresh. If it's not fresh, no, it's not going to make much difference between the supermarket stuff and that. It'll make a small difference, but not a profound difference. So what people notice because of that slight increase in taurine, I've done a video on stomach acidity. The proton pumps inside your stomach are regulated by taurine. Yes, you do need chloride, sodium chloride, from salt, the chloride part for the production of the actual, that stomach acid, but to regulate the pumps and to get them in that lower pH level, so more acidity, to be able to digest the proteins, you need those pumps to be properly regulated, especially if you've been on a diet, a species inappropriate diet, and they've been down regulated. You're running levels of 3.5 or whatever, or 3 in terms of pH, then you're not going to have good digestion. You're going to have, so in a raw form, that extra taurine is going to help lower the pH and allow you to digest better. That's the only reason. The digestion in terms of the acidity of the stomach improves. But if you didn't have those problems, you still had lower, just the protein and the small amount of taurine in there, with regular cooked meat would be fine. But if you've come from a sort of a situation where you've been very low on animal foods, very high on plant foods, and you've altered the homeostatic state of the stomach, then, because he came from a vegan diet, then raw meat seem better to digest. It's because of the taurine factor he's unaware of, ignorance, basically, in that regard. But if you basically supplement taurine, fix that problem completely, then cooked meat is not a problem. Got it? So, yeah, that's where that misunderstanding comes from the raw food community. Raw meats have other values. It's not so much the digestion. You actually get better protein amounts. You get more protein in terms of high quality protein and better digestion and breaking down that into simple amino acids and quicker. You can actually tolerate more. You can eat more cooked meat and get a bigger amino sort of bolus amount to be able to, to provide your tissue with that extra muscle protein synthesis and many other things. But it's easier to digest because of the taurine factor for those who have got derangements. So that's why they gravitated to that without knowing the little secret that they could have supplemented with cooked meat and they could have got double the benefit. One, they'd eventually fix their stomach situation, and then they would still continue getting the benefits of cooked meat by being able to access a bigger amino pool. But again, as I said, the man has a lot of ignorance coming from a veganerized background. What do you expect? He still has a lot of those ideas that he has. He's just gone from one raw food type to a different raw food type, and a lot of the other nonsense, flat earth and whatever other nonsense, all you have to do is just look at your shadow in the different time of the day to know quite clearly that there is a difference. There's no flatness. You can only get shadow changes like that. That's the basic stuff you can work out. The flat earth is nonsense. Yes.